Hi everybody, we are continuing Avengers Week with a look at the figure from the Avengers movie line. Now relax, relax. I know some of these figures really haven't been that great, sacrificing articulation for play features that really aren't all that fun or work. But there are a few diamonds in the rough, and here's one of them right now. The Avengers Skrull Soldier. Obviously, I've removed the figure from his packaging, and he comes with a double-bladed axe. Interesting to note that when advertisements for this figure started showing up in stores' order forms, a lot of people thought that the Skrulls were going to be the main villains for the Avengers movie. I don't know if this figure was included to pad out the line or to maybe throw a little confusion and keep the Chitauri's involvement a surprise. On the back here, you have the cross cell and a photoshopped image. Now I want you all to pay very close attention, because if you'll see, the axe can split apart and both blades can be held as handheld, like closer range melee weapons. We're going to get to that in a minute, because that's not entirely true. So, enough of my yammering. Let's get to the figure. Okay, and here he is. Now I have to hold him just because we're on an angle and he won't stand properly, but this figure can stand on his own. That's important to note because a lot of the figures, due to the reduced articulation, can't really stand. He can also store his weapon on his back. There's a nice little peg in there. We'll get into the weapons in just a minute. Just want to focus on the figure real quick. As I mentioned, some of the figures have reduced articulation, and while this guy is not as articulated as regular mainline Marvel Universe figures, he actually has quite a bit of articulation. I was quite surprised by that. First, his head can rotate. There is no movement up or down. Arms can rotate out at the shoulder joint, forward and back, bend at the elbow. A lot of figures haven't been coming with elbow joints. Rotate at the elbow. Nothing more in the wrist. No waist joint, although there is a cut here, which we'll show you in more detail in a moment, that they could have put in an ab crunch, but reduced articulation. Finally, his legs can go forward, back slightly, out to the side, no need to move the joint. Swivel at the calf, bend at the knee, rotation at the knee. So, yeah, he has a lot of articulation, and it really is fun. He's not super articulated, but to be honest, a lot of times that ends up hurting the figure more. Let's come in now and take a look at his face and his body in closer detail. This is a great interpretation of the Skrull Soldier. The green of his skin, the pointy ears, the kind of sadistic look to his eyes. There have been a couple other Skrull figures in the Marvel Universe line. I do believe one was included in a multi-pack. This is the cut right here that I was talking about, where I thought they could have put in a ab crunch of sorts. But look, I really like the shade of blue on his body and going down with purple for his body armor, accented with silver on the chest and down his arms, also to his legs, where he has the silver boots. Normally, I would say they would have liked to have seen a little ankle articulation, but really that wasn't necessary on this figure. I do want to mention, though, that when you move his legs, if you notice, this new style Marvel joint, the legs are pegged into each other. It's a ball and socket inside a larger ball and socket. So there is some collateral movement, but overall, you do get a better range without having to move the joint. Now, let's take a look at his weapons. Put the figure off to the side. As I mentioned, he does come with a double-bladed axe. The blades, I should say, can snap onto the main shaft, like so. There's the peg that he can peg into the figure's back, and both blades can be removed, so you end up with a pedal spear. Now, I should mention that I'm not sure if it's going to show up on camera. When I first removed the blades off of the shaft, I noticed that there was this residue. If you're familiar with the liquid or the solvent they use to remove the finished pieces from the mold, this is what I think is left on. That should have been wiped off, but kind of wasn't. It's not wet, it's greasy, so you may want to wash your hands afterwards just because. I'm sure this isn't with every figure and it's just a QC issue on mine, but it's worth to note that this has been happening more and more frequently. Now, remember on the package, I had made a point of showing you how both of these could be held in the figure's hands. Well, here's the thing. His right hand has a traditional C-grip, which can hold the blade quite nicely. And, with the elbow joint, you can get some good close-range slashing. His left hand is more of a spread-fingered pose. Now, on the packaging, it looked like both hands were the same, which leads me to believe that possibly that photo was photoshopped and reversed so both limbs appeared the same. The best I can do is get his 3 fingers in and, well, try to wiggle it through in such certain way. Maybe get all 4 in there, but, the way the hands are done, you could do it like that, but that looks more like he's like holding it as a fan or a shield. Maybe if you come in like that. I'm doing this now just to show you how difficult it is because of, and of course, the hand is too wide to just wrap it around, so unfortunately, it's sometimes you can get it, sometimes you can't, but oh, there you go. Got it a little bit, but you start moving it, it's going to fall off. Now, I'm going to go back to the shaft here, clip the blades on the axe, and obviously he's going to hold it in his right hand. Now, there are multiple positions on the shaft here where he could grab it, but if you look, it really looks like he's meant to grab it from that lower position where my finger is. And it does fit in his hand quite easily, but it sits loosely and it tends to lean forward. Now I've tried choking up on it a little and it works, it's better, but usually what I do is I like to hold it like that and then bring the other hand in like so you can have like that two-handed pose. Let's zoom out and I'll give you my final thoughts on the figure. The Skrull Soldier is not only a great addition to your Avengers movie collection, but also a great addition to the Marvel Universe line. I highly recommend this figure. He's not as articulated as a lot of the other figures on the market, but his articulation is functional and fun, and he doesn't really have like a spring-loaded gimmick or anything. It just works. I really don't know what more to say or how I can put it, but it just works. Um, when this guy was first released, he was kind of hard to find because he was one to a case, but I've been seeing them more and more lately. I think it might also have to do with the fact that the Avengers line sort of died out after the movie was released. But with the DVD coming, there should be renewed interest. So if you see him, pick him up. This is your old pal Chuck, for the Skrull Soldier. We'll see you next time.